To summarize, in this world outside of the microcosm of the individual mind, the Jungian archetypes are expressed in various ways. In the Christian tradition, they're sometimes expressed as spirits of truth, spirits of wisdom, the spirit of understanding, the spirit of faith, the spirit of hope, etc. Jung would say that the Christ is the archetype of the self, so on and so forth. The saints in the Catholic and or Orthodox Church express these archetypes through many of the same ways and also include saints like Saint Sophia, patron saint of wisdom, Saint Valentine, the patron saint of love. And of course, archetypes are expressed by the gods and goddesses of antiquity, like Athena, the goddess of wisdom, Thoth, the god of wisdom and writing, Ma Saraswata, I said that wrong, Saraswata, goddess of wisdom and creativity. I butchered that, sorry guys, amongst other things. Okay, back to the clip.
It's like the best way to think about anger is a personality, and you know that perfectly well. If you get very irritated when you're arguing with someone and you're possessed by the spirit of anger, it changes your perceptions, it changes your emotions, it changes your view of the future, your view of the past. It's a fragmentary sub-personality that then takes over the whole. And then you could imagine that a malevolent sub-personality, so for all intents and purposes a demon, is an aggregate of those fundamental sub-personalities that's integrated in a manner that's very, very powerful and that partakes of that motivational force. Maybe you're angry and afraid and resentful and lustful all at the same time, and that's it. It's like a very high-order malevolent spirit has got you in its grip. And there is a reality to that. Now, we wouldn't want to say that if we're going to reserve the term God for the highest possible unity, it's definitely not that. But it's certainly it's a transcendent principality, and it is a spirit and a personality.
But the way you frame that, Jordan, is still basically metaphorical, isn't it? This is still, you talk about being possessed.
I don't think so.
I mean, the tradition, I mean, certainly the Christian tradition has demons. Demons have agency.
But those demons are allied very closely to our passions.
Sure.
They're almost like a cosmic version of the local passion.
So what Jonathan Pageau is referring to here is how in various Christian traditions there are demons associated with specific passions or sins. So like you have the 7 deadly sins, for example, and the demon of lust would be Asmodeus, or the demon of gluttony would be Beelzebub, the demon of greed would be Mammon or money, right? So on and so forth.
There are certain ways in which, through the kind of free agency of the individual, they could kind of admit they can conduct themselves in a way that makes them more vulnerable to those kind of external
well, they open the door to it.
Carl Jung said in Psychology and Alchemy, "I am forced to admit that the unconscious is capable at times of manifesting an intelligence and purposiveness superior to that of the conscious mind." Even René Descartes himself developed rationalism after encountering an angel who appeared to him in a dream. In fact, he wrote about several dreams in which he encountered supernatural beings, including gods, angels, and demons. These dreams played a significant role in his philosophical reflections on the nature of reality, knowledge, and the existence of God.
But would you accept that, Jordan? You would accept that there are, as it were, extrinsic sources that are going to operate on the psychological structures of an agent, in addition to the kind of cumulative weight of all the bad decisions.
It's microcosm, macrocosm. Yeah. You have to see the human person as a microcosm, and then these cosmic forces. So we are.
Okay. Was that what Jordan was setting out?
I think that's
you're comfortable with that.
So.
Okay.
Well, it is complicated too, because so imagine that you're possessed by an aggregate of these motivational states.
Okay. Well, because there you're saying motivational states.
Well,
so that okay.
Let me elaborate it one bit further, though, because you could also imagine that there are culturally developed manners in which that aggregate has expressed itself. So, for example, let's take the Columbine killer, for example. He allowed himself to be possessed by a set of motivational states, one of which was certainly covetousness, certainly resentment, hatred, powerful dark motivations. But the manner in which that manifested itself also had a culturally conditioned element, right? I mean, there's a satanic element to it that's like, it's like satanic in the poetic
kind of
Milton,
mimesis of
Miltonic
malice.
sense. Exactly that.
You're going individual, cultural, microcosm, macrocosm. Would you go natural, supernatural?
Well, that's
So I think that's
supernatural.
still a distinction between the
No,
way
it's
you
part
put
of
it out,
everything.
Jordan, and the way that...
Okay, well, but then I would also say, this is where it gets very complicated, is that malevolence that's a combination of bottom-up biological motivation and then cultural
And
elaboration,
cultural mimetic
also
effects.
a reflection of some cosmic form.
I think
and I
that's
would
what-
say, I think it is.
Okay, great.
I
We're
think it
agreed.
is.
Okay.
The fact is, whether you believe in God or things beyond the material world or not, it seems that we need a better vocabulary to discuss things like this that fall well outside of the material world.
Well, I think
Wait, we don't produce anger. We don't produce lust. They're outside of us.
No, not saying that.
Well, I thought then I don't
it's not
understand
that
what's being said.
I mean, a simple way to say it is that anger in you is similar to anger in Stephen or in me, and because it's similar, there's a being that's a. It's hard.
Anger
because
exists
people-
even if you die.
That's right. There's a good way to say it. That's right.
Right, anger is something that grips you, and so it's got a reality that transcends you.
Then how do I control it? Why am I responsible? If I act out evilly in anger and anger controls me, I have an excuse.
Well, my answer to that would be
It's the bottom up and top down thing
I don't know exactly what to say about that, apart from the fact that there are other forces within you, including you, that give you the ability to control it, even if it has some autonomy of its own. Like, you don't have to give yourself over to anger, even though it beckons to you. You know, and you remember in the story of Cain and Abel, you think about how that sets itself up. So Cain is resentful and bitter and angry. And the reason for that is his sacrifices are rejected. And then sin sits at his door, like it's externalized as a tempting spirit, and he has to invite it in. You know, it's the same idea in stories of vampiric possession, as you have to invite the vampire through the window. So I would say you can open yourself up to this possession or decide not to do it. And there's an element of free choice in that for sure. And this is why God calls Cain out. That spirit of sin approaches them, but they still decide whether or not they're going to open the door.
Doesn't it?
So here's the question. Is it possible that our ancestors had a more sophisticated understanding of these deeply intuitive concepts than we do today? And if so, what are the implications? Did they live better? Did they live more fulfilling lives as a result? Did they embody virtues more effectively, for example? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Leave them in the comments below if you have any thoughts that you'd like to share. I'd love to hear them. And yeah, that's all I have for today. Please like, sub, hit the bell, and I will see you in the next one.